Hey, this is Sean with the podcast Thrive Not Survive After Child Abuse. Yeah, I'm walking around again in my neighborhood. I did it a few days ago and actually I liked it. And then record my podcast while I was walking around. So if you follow me on YouTube or Facebook, then actually you have, I think you have something to look at. Well, you see me walking, and maybe you have a little bit of an impression of the neighborhood here in Dallas, Texas. It's getting winter, definitely here. You can feel it, but it's Texas weather. Texas weather gonna go. We always have a saying in Texas: if you don't like the weather, you just wait an hour, right? So anyhow, that's what it is. Yeah, last couple of days we spent a lot of time on talking about emotional contagions, right? And then yesterday I did a podcast on the joy of life, just to interrupt a little bit what we were talking about. But while discussing the plan for this week's podcast, actually I came to notice that actually I missed one episode of emotional contagiousness, right? So let me just repeat it really quick for the people that have followed it. And if you didn't follow it, just go back to the other episodes, and they're typically relatively short, and then you can then you caught up on what we were talking about. But the question is, are emotions, are they contagious? And the answer was yes. What then to do about it? And there are responsibilities on both sides, right? So if you have a certain emotion, be careful, because you could carry over that emotion, so to speak, as if it is a virus to to someone else. And typically, if you know that you actually are easy, or maybe you are just in a phase where you quickly take over emotion from other people, then you might be a little bit more careful too. Now, it sounds maybe a little bit, yeah, is that true, right? Well, think about it, right? If someone smiles at you nicely, you tend to smile back most of the time very easy. So if I go out on the street, even if it's to record my podcast, I just take a conscious step to check my emotions and see that I have at least a friendly face, so to speak, right? So maybe I had a grumpy day. I had a little bit because I didn't eat so well. Actually, I ate well, but something didn't go so well. So feel a little bit weird about that. But it doesn't mean that if I meet people on the street now that they immediately have to see a grumpy guy walking with a selfie stick recording a podcast, if you know what I mean, right? But anyhow, there's another layer of emotional contagion to it, because yes, you could be among people that have an emotion that you don't want, so you make sure that you are either protected from it, or that you just make sure that you don't go in there. Why would you go in a place where there are a lot of angry people, for instance, right? Why would you do that? If you yourself have an emotion that you think that's actually not so healthy for other people to be around, and it could be just your family, be a little bit careful how you express your emotion. And then the third layer that we talked about was actually that you can take on an emotional state that is more appropriate to the situation that you are in. Like me, I'm recording now my podcast, and I need to take on an emotional state that fits that suits that podcast. Or if I'm a performance artist, it suits the performance that I'm going to do. Does that make sense? If you are in a certain profession, it suits you well to always to do that in. So think about maybe a police officer. There's a lot of, has been a lot of talk about, specifically in the United States, about police brutality. But trust me, most of the police guys are really good. It's really hard actually to do their job, because we never ask and wonder them what is going on in their private lives, right? But they stop you and they get a lot of stuff over them. And yeah, can it happen that some police guys snap? And should they be held up to a higher standard? I believe so, yeah. I believe that is maybe true. But they're still human beings, right? So and the majority of the police people do excellent work. So anyhow, that's my opinion. It's my podcast, so I can give you my opinion. But here's another thing, right? So we talked about this emotion contagion, and now that you know about it, we can also take care when we see someone being in an emotional state that's actually not so suitable for the situation. It is, you could be in a phase of your life, or you could be going through a hormonal phase. That could be because of medicine, it could be because of normal human cycles, right? And your emotions could be just a little bit all over the board. That happens, right? Now, if you are a partner of someone, then you typically know that, and it requires a little bit extra effort to not immediately react, the way you maybe want to react. Because here's the thing, right? Eckhart Tolle calls that in his book, The Power of Now. He talks about pain bodies, right? And we sometimes react from, I'm not going to so deep into that topic, but we sometimes react way more from our pain body than actually the situation actually is warranted, right? So we might need to also look at someone else. If someone has maybe emotions and reacted in a way that is not so appropriate to a situation, maybe there is something going on with that person, and maybe we can have a little bit more understanding in the way we react then to that person. Now, I can guarantee you here that I think that's always pretty tough, because sometimes you just want to react like that. And like I said, think about normal relationships, right? Man, woman, woman, man. We all go through different phases, right? We all sometimes have times where we maybe are a little bit more oversensitive to things, and we don't know why that is. And it could be because of things that happened to us in the past, and it could be just maybe because of a hormonal cycle. It could be just because life happened to us, right? So if you're a partner, and if you're in communication in general, meet someone, right? We can always, try to see and maybe think, hey, maybe that person didn't want to react like that as well. If we immediately meet the person in the way they react to you, that might only escalate the things. And specifically if you are in a negative situation, that could be, that could escalate to something really ugly. And here's the thing, a while ago, talking about road rage, a while ago, a guy behind me, and I thought he was like, almost kissing the tail of my car with his car, right? So I was a little bit annoyed. I stepped on the brakes of my car. He almost slammed in the back of my car. I had to stop for a stoplight, for a traffic light. The light turned green, and I purposely did not pull up. Just let him sit behind me, right? I was thinking of, right before the light turns red again, I will pull up. And but then I decided, what am I actually doing, right? So I got out of my car, and think about it like this, right? I got out of my car, and and I wanted to shake the guy's hand. I mean, that was before COVID, obviously, right? I wanted to shake the guy's hand. By the way, just little interruption here. Look at behind me. That that garden here has a gigantic snowman in the garden. Pretty cool actually, right? Anyhow, so I went out. At first the guy was like, oh, what is this guy to do? Because I was actually a little bit I felt that he was the aggressor, but I met him with aggression too. So he thought, this is going to be turned into some sort of a fist fight, which is, by the way, not smart, because we in Texas, we often have a gun in the car. So don't do that, by the way. Don't always follow what I do. Just maybe listen to what I say. But anyhow, I shook his hand and I said, sir, I'm so sorry. I should not have done what I did. I don't know why you were so close to my car. Maybe there was a reason for it or not. And he said, I'm sorry too. I was in a hurry and there was really no reason to try to speed you up. So I mean, that's also a way to solve it, right? It took me a little bit to to get over that, but just be a little bit conscious of that, right? Now it happens also, of course, in a positive way, right? Specifically when you're kids, don't you remember that you just were laughing for nothing, and then the other one couldn't help to laugh too. And my dad sometimes could be a little bit grumpy. He couldn't stand that we were just laughing just for no reason. So we have no reason to laugh, but you know, and the more angry he became, the more louder we had to laugh. So we didn't take over his emotional state, but we took over each other's emotional state from my siblings, and we were laughing out loud. Anyhow, this was my fourth or fifth episode around are emotional contagious, and I think I tried to look at it from all different angles and see how you could do. I just want you to be, no, well, not want you to be, that's just a matter of speaking, right? I just hope that you be a little bit more conscious about these things, how we react ourselves, why some people maybe react in an not so appropriate way, and maybe that's not always their choice. Maybe there's something going on, right? So I think the world can need a little bit more love. Specifically, if I connect this in the end, as I always do, to child abuse victims, they sometimes go very rough times. They could be triggered by something. I certainly want to come back to that. That definitely puts you in a completely different emotional state. That would mean if I would be the one who is triggered, I would definitely not react in the way how I want to react. But I do hope that my partner, who triggered me, or the person who triggered me, doesn't immediately meet that same reaction with the same type of emotion that I have, but hopefully understand that maybe something else was going on, right? Okay, so this was Jean from the podcast Thrive Not Survive After Child Abuse. Shooting the podcast today from and recording the podcast today from my own neighborhood here in Allen, Texas, in the Dallas area. All right, I hope to hear you back tomorrow. Bye-bye.